Miguel Arati back on the CRP, and I'm joined by Devin Miller talking about the UFC 239 and heavyweight action which has been added to the card. Francis Ngannou is now set to take on Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos coming off a standout performance in his last fight, looking rejuvenated. Ngannou hanging on to the number one contender spot. This is high-level action, Devin. How do you feel when you heard this matchup for UFC 239 on July 6th? Huge card.
The UFC has a long history of really pumping out great cards for the July International Fight Week pay-per-view weekend, and this year is no different. They're really giving us quite the main card right now, and one can only expect that there's still going to be some announcements going forward. But this is a great addition to an already very, very nice card they've got in store for us. And when we look at this is really a number one contender fight in my eyes, because with Stipe Miocic floating around out there, I mean, it's no secret that Daniel Cormier, the champion right now at heavyweight, is definitely sitting in the wings waiting for a possible fight with Brock Lesnar, a big money fight before his retirement, which would be a super big spectacle, not necessarily Conor McGregor, Floyd Mayweather level, but it would be a huge spectacle for the UFC to have the heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier, a longtime legend, one of the all-time greats in MMA, fight Brock Lesnar, one of the most popular characters to ever step foot in the octagon, WWE champ and all that. But you got Stipe Miocic, the former champ. He's kind of waiting in the wings. We were talking earlier this week about the rumors that there was going to be Stipe versus Jon Jones made for this card, and that seemed to fall through. Now we got a headliner for this card between Jon Jones and Thiago Santos at 205, with Jones defending his belt. And we pretty much came to the conclusion that Stipe turned the fight down. Well, with Stipe holding out for the Cormier fight, and it doesn't look like that's what he's going to get, you got Ngannou and Dos Santos who are out there fighting and putting together wins. And when I look at this fight, the winner of this fight, especially if it's a finish and an impressive finish, I mean, I hate to say this about Stipe, but Stipe is not gonna be having as much hype behind him to get the title fight as somebody like Ngannou or Dos Santos will be having, especially, as I said, if it's an impressive finish in this fight. So I think there's big stakes in this fight. I think the winner of this is very likely to be fighting for a UFC heavyweight title fight after this fight. I can't imagine any other fight for them except for maybe Jon Jones at heavyweight, which I've said on the podcast I believe is bigger than a heavyweight title fight. It's bigger for me. It would be a fight with Jon Jones. But so I think this is a huge fight. You got Ngannou coming in on a 2-fight winning streak. Both those wins were TKO stoppages within a minute against Curtis Blades and Cain Velasquez. And as you mentioned in the introduction, you got Junior Dos Santos, the former UFC heavyweight champion, probably a first ballot UFC Hall of Famer, who seems really rejuvenated in his last 3 fights with 3 wins over Blagoy, Ivanov, Tai Tuivasa, and recently against Derek the Black Beast Lewis. And when you compare how he looked in his last 3 fights compared to his last title fight against Stipe Miocic when Stipe was the champion, and their rematch where Stipe just flattens him in the first round and he didn't look good at all. A lot of people thought he was on his way out. He seems really rejuvenated. Seems like he's got some rest, has kind of kicked it up a gear, is looking like the Dos Santos of old. So I think this fight couldn't be happening at a better time. I think they match up really well. I think it's going to be very interesting to see the finesse and technique of Junior Dos Santos against the raw power and aggressiveness of Ngannou. So I think this is a great matchup with high-level stakes, and it's a great addition to an already very stacked card.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Miocic is now becoming an example of a guy who's not doing himself any favors by sitting out. At the end of the day, this is the UFC. Having a great resume isn't enough to get a title shot if there are other X factors involved. And he has allowed himself to be affected by X factors. There's a big fight for the champion there. The bottom line is with all due respect to Stipe is, not exactly the mover of the hype meter. He's kind of low key, and that, personality-wise may not help him in the end of the day when the UFC is making decisions like this. So he continues to sit. He doesn't have an opponent. Now he's seen at least two potential opponents in the weight class sign up to fight each other, so that's less of a chance for Stipe to get in there against a high-level guy. In the ring, Ngannou and Dos Santos, I think, it has also the classic makings of the passing of the torch fight if Ngannou can break through.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that's probably what I'm going to, when it comes time to start doing a weight bridge for this, I think that's probably right now where I'm leaning with this fight. Ngannou is just such a powerhouse, and even playing that game of standing in there and striking with him seems like a risk to me. With anybody fighting him right now. And Junior Dos Santos, as much of a legend as he is, and as I said, I believe that he'll have a Hall of Fame ballot. I think he'll have a mark in the Hall of Fame someday. Ngannou is really on the way up. I think he's improved since his loss to Stipe, and I think that he is going to be somebody that the UFC knows that they can market, and whether it's a title fight against Dana Cormier, whether it's a rematch with Stipe Miocic, or whether it's a fight with Jon Jones, which I still contend when I think of who can actually possibly beat Jon Jones at heavyweight or light heavyweight, when I look at all the names that are out there right now, my top pick is, which a lot of people probably disagree with me, is Ngannou. Just because of the pure power. I think that he has the capability of actually dropping anybody, including Jon Jones, and he'll actually go for the knockout. So I think there's a lot of plus side on Ngannou. And I don't think that there's really a bad story either way with this fight, however the outcome turns out, because if Junior Dos Santos is able to go in there and pull together a good win, an impressive win, and there's a great story there of him having this late career resurgence back to the top and getting a title fight. And then with Ngannou, if he wins, you've got just this devastator, and who can beat anybody any night. So I think that the UFC definitely knew what they were doing with this fight, and I think they definitely know what they're going to be doing going forward after this fight. So all that they have to worry about now is getting them both into the cage on July 6th healthy.
Yep, and the UFC 239, already a stacked card, just got even more stacked as the UFC has announced Francis Ngannou taking on Junior Dos Santos in a heavyweight matchup on the main card. I've been joined by our MMA analyst, Devin Miller, to look deeper at the repercussions of Ngannou versus Dos Santos in the UFC.